I was 13, I got kidnapped by a man that I met on Snapchat. Some of you guys might actually remember because our local news station covered the story after they found me, but I was the Florida girl that got kidnapped. My parents didn't know that I had Snapchat at first. I don't really think they understood what social media was that much either, not besides Facebook. They didn't really understand what Snapchat was. I only downloaded it because all of my friends had it and we'd send snaps back and forth. When I turned 13, I threw a slumber party and all of my friends came over and we all had our little phones and we all added a bunch of boys from Snapchat. We just wanted to have fun and talk to boys. We did not think that it was dangerous at all to add random strangers. Well, one of the guys I added played a lot of sports. He seemed really cool. He skateboarded. He played the guitar. I thought he was the coolest thing in the whole entire world and I was like, this is gonna be my boyfriend. So as you do when you're 13, we started dating like the next day. Mind you, I had never seen his face before. Like we would only snap pictures and his were always just like his pants or something dark and then the words across the screen. But I didn't really think anything of it because this was back when Snapchat had the little ghost where you had different pictures of your face. So there was a picture of a boy. So I thought, oh, that's him. I know what he looks like. So we're snapping back and forth. I asked him what school he went to and he said a school nearby where mine was at. I thought it was a crazy coincidence, but looking back, I had my location on. So literally anyone I added could see where I lived. I think we were snapping for about a week when he started mentioning hanging out. And obviously I wanted to, but I wasn't really allowed to date when I was 13. So I couldn't tell my parents that I was hanging out with a boy. So I told my mom that me and my friends were planning on going to the mall and she could drop me off like she normally does and come pick me up a few hours later while she runs her errands and I would just be hanging out with my friends like normal. Week of the hangout comes around and he snaps me midweek, oh, he broke his leg. So I thought we were gonna have to cancel our hangout and he was like, no, but instead of walking around the mall, what if my dad picks you up and we drive around? I was a little nervous at this idea because obviously I wasn't supposed to be meeting up with a boy and I wasn't supposed to be leaving the mall, but I agreed because I wanted to hang out with my boyfriend. So Saturday comes around, I get to the mall, I snap him that I'm at the mall and I'm waiting for him. He snaps back and says he's in the car, his dad will walk up and come find me and bring me to the car. In my mind it made sense because his leg was hurting probably, so he didn't want to walk out. And so I go outside and there's a man there and he's smiling and he's like, hey, are you here to see my son? He's in the car, let's go. So I follow him to the car, but when we get to the car, there's no one else in the car. So I kind of look at him suspicious and I'm like, where is my boyfriend at? And the dad goes, oh, he's inside the bathroom. He went inside real fast, but if you want to wait in the car, like he'll be out in a little bit. So I was a little nervous, but like I didn't really think too much of it. So I get in the car like an idiot and I'm sitting there and his dad starts asking me questions and asking me about kind of personal things that I had only shared with my boyfriend. And so I kind of ask him like, oh, how did you know that? And he's like, my son told me about you, so I was just curious how you've been doing and stuff. So we were sitting there for a little bit and I think I had mentioned him taking so long in the bathroom, like what was taking so long. And his dad was like, oh, you know, with his leg, he takes a bit longer in the bathroom now. Do you want to go drive, get McDonald's, come back and we can pick him up after we get our McDonald's? And like I was stupid enough to get in the car, but I really didn't feel like driving around with some random man that I had just met and I hadn't even seen my boyfriend. I was like a little nervous about that and some red flags were going off. So I said, yes, let's get McDonald's, but I really have to go to the bathroom first. So can I run inside, go to the bathroom, and then we can go get McDonald's? And he was like, yeah, just go in the bathroom. How about I just walk you in to make sure you get there okay? So we walk to the bathroom and we park next to the JCPenney's. The bathrooms next to JCPenney's are way smaller than the main bathrooms. And so there were only like 3 stalls in those bathrooms. And the way it is down the hallway, there's a door to enter the little hallway, and then there's the 2 doors for the girls' bathroom and the guys' bathroom. And then on the inside of the girls' bathroom, it connects to where the salon is in the JCPenney's. So you can walk in the girls' bathroom and then you can walk to the salon. So I go in the bathroom, I use the restroom, and by the time I'm done, I'm realizing like I don't want to do this anymore. I'm good. I'm kind of sketched out. Like this is weird. I'm just done. So I call my mom. I call my mom 2 times and neither time she answers. And by this point, it was taking a while and I hear him knocking on the door. And he's like, hey, are you in there? Are you okay? Do you need help? Are you good? You're taking a while. He's like, my son just went back to the car, so whenever you're done, we can go to the car and go get McDonald's. And his voice was getting kind of nervous. It just didn't seem calm or normal. Like, who checks on someone when you're in the bathroom? That's freaking weird. So I called the cops. I couldn't get a hold of my mom. I called the cops, and my mom's always taught me it's better to be safe than sorry. So I ended up calling them. And I don't know if he heard me or if I just took too long, but he goes inside the girls' bathroom and starts banging on the stall in order to see what I'm doing, and I'm obviously on the phone, and he's like, there's no need to talk to anyone, you can come out, we're in the car, obviously losing his mind. And at this point I kind of know I'm in danger, and I'm on the phone with the cops, and like they can hear what's going on, and they're like, we're sending someone, are you safe, just stay where you're at. I'm like, I'm in the bathroom. They're like, keep the door closed, keep it locked. I'm trying to get my information, trying to get descriptions of what he looks like. I thought it was stupid. I was like, just come find me, like why do you need to know all this stuff? But I'm like trying my best with my shaky voice to tell them what's going on with this grown man yelling at me. And if you've been to a mall, you know their bathrooms are not the strongest thing in the world. While he was banging on the door, he broke the part where the door locks, and he opens the bathroom and like grabs my arm and is like, come on, we need to go. I start screaming at the top of my lungs while this man is dragging me out. He made it back into the little hallway when like one of the salonists runs into the bathroom and is trying to check and make sure like someone's okay, because there's someone screaming in the bathroom, and he's like, this is okay, it's just my daughter, she doesn't want to get in the car and we need to leave. And I'm like, he's not my dad, I'm like screaming, help. And this lady doesn't know what to do, and she's screaming, you need to let her go, someone call the cops. He's trying to hurry up and leave while grabbing my arm, and we get out into like the little main entranceway, and because we're no longer in the bathrooms, there are other people around. There were two dads that ran up because this isn't normal. There's a little girl screaming, there's a guy grabbing them. They run up. As they run up, the guy lets go of me and takes off running. The salon lady runs over to me to make sure I'm okay, but the two dads run over to him to grab him, and they hold him down until the cops get there. So the police arrest him. They ask me to get in contact with my mom. My mom finally answers. They ask her to come down to the mall. They start asking me a bunch of questions to figure out what happened. I told them what was going on, and we found out that this was the man I was talking to, not a little boy. My mom was glad I was safe, but obviously she was so mad at me. She took away my phone and gave me a flip phone until I was 17 years old. And I think the creepy dude got like 15 years in jail, so he's still in there for a little bit longer.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm ready for the can of worms that I'm about to open, as far as like unlocked memories of mine, but it is what it is. Let's talk about it. So I had a lot of friends, like I said in that last video, that I didn't tell like that situation to. I have a lot of things that happen to me in life that I really don't open up about. I'm not that type of person, but a lot of them are curious to finding out exactly what happened and how I found out that my ex was basically poisoning me, making me gain weight by giving me, those supplements. So in order to explain that, I have to explain what led up to all of that. Okay. So there was two things that I put together, and that's how I found out that he was doing this to me. The first, let's go back a little bit, was that this man was struggling with drug abuse and alcohol abuse. So he was leaving a bunch of like little shooter bottles all over my house, like hiding them. So he would hide them in cabinets. He would hide them under sinks. He would hide them in our coat closet, all these different areas. And I was finding them around the house. In one of the situations, one of the instances, I want to say underneath a cabinet sink in one of the bathrooms, maybe, I found a couple of bottles, and I found that bottle. I want to say it was like a brown bottle, glass. It had a dripper, and the substance was sticky, almost like a honey. And I didn't know what it was. It looked very formal. It looked like some kind of like prescription type of thing. And at the time, I hadn't put anything together yet, okay? I looked up the name, I looked up what it was, and it basically gave me information that this was a weight gaining supplement, and it was used on pretty much people that were struggling with anorexia, if you will, right? So, okay, he was very, very thin at the time due to the drug abuse. So I was like, maybe this is him trying to take some things to hide that, okay? Fine. So I didn't say anything about it after I found it. I just kept it. I took a picture of it. I kept it in my mind, and I was like, okay, this is going to come up eventually, okay? A little later on in, I want to say a month, two, maybe, whatever. That was still in the back of my mind, but whatever. We had other issues. Somewhere or another, we get into an argument about bills, because remember how I said he was basically living with me. We lived together. We had the lease together, but I was paying at least 90% of the bills, if not 100% of the bills at all times. And he had a decent income, So I didn't understand what was going on. All he would ever tell me was that his mom had access to his bank account and she was taking money from him because he owed his parents money. Every time I brought it up, he'd say, oh, it was money that I owe them from when they helped me move back to Arizona. This had been at least 3+ years that he had been back to Arizona. So how much money did your parents give you if every time you get paid, you're giving them pretty much, according to you, most of your paycheck to, pay them back? Made no sense. So eventually I got sick of it and I got on his bank account and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. How much money is this lady actually taking? He is a typical male and had the same password. Pretty much it wasn't hard to figure it out. So I get on his bank account and I see transactions that he's taking out money at Circle K's and ATMs. Leads up to the rug abuse, right? He's sending money to a familiar name that I know, this guy that he works with that I know also is rug abuse. So I was like, okay, they're probably getting rugs together. But then there's a bunch of PayPal accounts that range from $30 to $200, $250 that he's paying out. And I'm like, PayPal? And they're foreign names, mainly Asian, but foreign names that I don't recognize. So I take a screenshot, I write these names down. And I'm like, what is this going to? So I look these names up on my personal phone and I couldn't find anything. Once he's passed out, whatever, I take his phone and I look up these names in the search history. And there's a website that comes out by Phoebe, something like that. Okay, so then I go down this rabbit hole of what is this website? I had no idea what this was. I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently feederism and this website is where you can find people mainly that are bigger bodied and pay them to send you videos and pictures of them eating for schmexual pleasure, right? So apparently it's like MSR, like eating and making the noises and watching people progressively grow. Okay. Immediately in my brain, I was like, so I did the research and it was like, most people that are into this are into watching people go from really thin to really big. Immediately found, like, my brain clicked and I thought of that substance. And I don't know why, but I was like, that's what's in my Starbucks. I know that's what's in my Starbucks. This was like 3 a.m. I wake up, I run downstairs, and I open up my Starbucks jars, and they all have, like, I start dumping them out, and they're all, like, gooey in the bottom. And I'm like, oh, hell no, like, syrupy. So then I wake up this man. I literally, like, okay? And I was, like, losing my mind. I'm telling him, I know what you're doing. I know that this is in here, XYZ. Like, what are you doing to me? And he just straight up admitted it. He admitted that at first it started off as I don't like the attention that you get when you walk into a room. I don't like the attention that you get on social media. It bothers me. It makes me very insecure. And I wanted to make you ugly to other people. And then he said when he started looking into this, he started getting schmexual pleasure of seeing other people gain weight and started liking that whole fetishism and dove deep into that and started finding people that he could pay to do that because I wasn't doing it quick enough because he was doing it in secret to me and he wanted to watch it grow. And that is how I found out that this man was technically poisoning me.
Now that I'm not in high school and I graduated, I think I could tell y'all about this, even though nobody really gives a fuck. So when I was 17, 2 months shy of my 18th birthday, I got a 27 piece, right? I was going to insert a picture, but I just don't feel like it. Scroll down, you'll find it. And it was genuinely like an impulsive decision. Like, I knew I wanted a 27 piece. Was it supposed to be red? No. I went in the beauty supply, I seen the red hair, and I said, fuck it. Now, I will say, it was genuinely just an experiment. I was not know what I'm saying? Just something cute. I just wanted to try it because that's what I do. I express myself through my hair, you know? Y'all, I didn't even go to school the day after I got my hair done. Or did I? I can't remember. No, I think I did. I can't remember. Hold on. Okay, so I think I did go to school the day after I got my hair done. But I got my hair did on a weekend. Keep that in mind. So, posting my hair had over 1,000 views. But kind of sort of makes sense because I had like 6,000 followers. But I literally had 1,200 views by the end of the day. Maybe more. Motherfuckers was sharing it, motherfuckers sending it, laughing, kikiing. Now listen, I wasn't mad about that. I don't give a fuck about that at all. Because I don't like a lot of the shit that people do. I don't like a lot of the shit that people wear. Y'all know. Well, y'all probably don't, but I'm the biggest shit talker. Like, I really don't care. Like, it's okay to not like something, but to be a bully is where I draw the line. Because motherfuckers fail to realize that you can't bully a bully. I'm gonna take shit too far every single time, and you're not even gonna want to play no more. So keep shit to a minimum. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's limits to my messy, and clearly these bitches don't have no limits, but that's how Cast Tech can be. Now, I'm sitting in class, right? And I walked past and I heard a bitch say, did y'all see her comments? They were in the comments telling her that they told her to get that. They're setting her up for failure. And I heard one of the other girls say, I think she said something like, oh, it's giving auntie. And then the other girl was like, don't say that too loud. Now, shout out to her. Shout out to her, because you knew better. Y'all know better. And I fuck with that. I fuck with that. Don't say that shit too loud. Because I'm going to read bitches like never before. Dead homies. So I initially didn't have no problem with what they said. It was the girl who said they set me up for failure. Specifically because she don't got no motherfucking room to talk. Like, none. And like I just said, I don't care if people have something to say. I didn't do it because I wanted people to like it. I did it because I wanted to. But to sit there and try to be a bully like that, and this bitch leave out, be left out, like, you know when your mama tell you leave the meat out? That's, come on now, bro. I'm talking about Afro up here, Remy down here. Don't piss me off. And I'm wondering, like, what will make her say something like that? Because she don't even talk. She don't engage in conversation with nobody for real. She's a very quiet girl. We always share the laugh, and she's very smart. Like, I couldn't understand it. Like, we always kiki. So I'm like, why the fuck would you do something like that if these the same bitches that be talking about you? Now, mind y'all, I was not the type of girl to go to school every day because I have a chronic illness. So it's like, I was always sick. You see me maybe twice a week, right? So when I heard her say that, I said to myself, I said, if I say something to her right now, I'm going to end up smacking her. So I said, I'm going to wait till 7th hour, because this is 6th hour. Shout out to Mr. Make Merch. So I'm going to go to 7th hour and wait. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm going to text her, because, bitch, I hate your hair all the time. I sent it to her. Okay, cool. I said, now I'm going to wait for her to respond, because I just wanted to see if she was going to pick up on the fact that I heard what the fuck you said. She didn't say nothing. She just left it on saying, okay, cool. Now, the whole day, my views is just going up and up and up and up. I'm like, damn, the whole Cast Tech is on my page. It's this one specific bitch. I couldn't understand where the fuck she came from. But I'm like, okay, this is a Cast bitch. But what is she looking for? A dude that I was friends with. Well, I am still friends with, right? I'm talking about, like, me and him was friends. We became friends in, like, 2022. Beginning of 2022. So, you know, me and him don't talk often. We had really just connected again. He say, I don't know if you know, but this motherfuckers going around saying they gonna beat your ass. I'm like, who? He's saying motherfuckers gonna beat my ass because I was talking shit about their sister. I'm like, who the fuck got a sister? I don't talk, who the fuck, who? Immediately when he showed me who the bitch was, I still didn't know who she was. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I said, oh, her sister is the bitch that was in class. So, okay, now I'm hip. She said something like, I think she said, I can't remember what she supposedly said about my hair, but she basically was talking shit about it and was like, how you mad because people don't like your hair or some shit like that, and said she was going to beat my ass. So I said, okay, cool. I'm waiting on the bitch to beat my ass, though. So when she telling him about this and he ended up telling her that he know me, she got mad. She pissed. Oh, you know her? And da-da-da-da-da. And then the bitch said that I be walking around in school like I'm the shit. I don't even be here. How dare you? If you see me through the halls at Cast Tech, I be in that bitch fighting for my life. So to say that I walk around like I'm the shit kind of made me feel good. Because now I know, like, okay, I was cuter than I thought. Okay. So I ended up texting a friend, right? I'm talking about the situation because when I tell y'all, it was like left to right, bitches was just on my head about a hairstyle. It was crazy. So I ended up getting a screenshot of her close friends, and she posted me and zoomed in on my motherfucking hair, cropped it out to myself. This y'all friend? Huh? Now, mind you, her father is supposed to be a pastor. And let me tell y'all something. I grew up in the motherfucking church. I never heard of that nigga. Ever. Never heard of him. But she got Bible scriptures up the ass in her quotes. I mean, in her bio, you know, in her highlights and things. And I'm just like, how dare you be so holy and so nasty at the same time? So I took the screenshot, and I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of go overboard. I took that motherfucking screenshot and I posted it publicly. I said, now you said you gonna beat my ass. I went in on her, y'all. And if I had my old Facebook, not my old Facebook, if I had my old Instagram, I would have showed y'all. But I don't even have it no more. If I can find it, if I can find the screenshots of the situation, I'll show y'all. But I highly doubt I even have them because I couldn't even understand why the fuck that girl did all. I can't understand that situation. Like, why the fuck was this that serious? Like, so like I said, the whole cast was watching my page at this point because when I posted the screenshot of what she said and her close friends, I didn't go to school that day. So I'm posting all this shit. I'm like, bitch, don't play with me. Motherfuckers is like, yeah, she's weird, da, 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 da. You know, like just having a bitch back. Because I couldn't understand what all the backlash was for. And it was bitches hating from each app. But like, don't ever try to bully me. Don't, bitch, I'll show you a bully. Yeah. So I come back to school and I think it's a Friday. I didn't even get in class, bitch. My teacher say, oh, good morning, Miss Williams. They want you downstairs. They've been looking for you. Oh, okay. I go downstairs. I'm telling him the situation. He like, well, yeah, your mom already called. Apparently, y'all, my mama called and basically threatened them and said that they would shoot that if I beat her ass. Don't say I didn't warn you. All this shit. And I forgot my mama did that, but I didn't care at that point. Stop fucking bullying people. Because what if I was weak? Now, if I would have went home and killed myself because of what the fuck people saying about me, then what? Exactly. So I'm not gonna say his name, but he all like, you are so mature and you know, I could tell you know better and da 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 da. Why are you entertaining stuff like this? I said, like I said, it's no reason for you to be watching me on social media. And she really tried to bully me and you threatened me. You said you was gonna beat my ass. I didn't even know what the fuck this girl looked like, y'all. So I'm in my head, like when I go to school, I'm on 10. I'm ready. You feel me? Cause I'm like, I wish a bitch would try to run up on me. You know, so I'm like, y'all so fucking worried about this bitch and her image because of who the fuck her father is. Like, I give a damn. I'm the one who was bullied. Like, I don't understand. So he gets to talking about how he gonna take prom away and he should do this and that. Now, mind y'all, I already knew I wasn't going to prom. So I didn't want to say, I don't give a fuck about prom. I just let him talk. Because I'm in my head like, you know what? Take these hoes prom away. Even though it wasn't really that serious to me, it was just like the way they played it when we got in there to talk was so crazy. Like, they was real calm. I didn't say anything. So kind of find out, you didn't tell your god sister that you was in class talking about me. You just sent her the screenshot of what I said to you to make it seem like I'm bullying you, like I'm a mean girl. Bitch never gave mean girl. So the girl like, I don't have no problem with you. I didn't even know that that's what happened. I said, well, yeah, like that was very unprovoked. And I couldn't even understand why you posted that. And then you told Pierre about it. Like, oh, not me name dropping. But yeah, she told our friend, our mutual friend, I think that's somebody that she was fucking with though, but it don't matter. And then he goes to say, oh, so all this is over a boy. I said, no, this ain't over no boy. This is a friend of mine who just told me something that a bitch apparently that he was fucking with told him in confidence. Bitch, you thought you was slick trying to show out in front of a nigga and got hold, bitch. Because like he said, are you sure about that? Bitch, are you? We ended up getting detention, y'all. We had to clean the fucking bleachers and shit. And yeah, I did my job well. I don't know what them hoes did. Moral of the story, don't bully the bully. And if you go to a prominent high school, nobody gives a fuck about your image on the streets, okay? So whether your father is the Pope or a preacher or whatever, you will still get that ass whooped. Have a good day.
Whenever people say they have a hard life and like they just can't do it no more, and I'm just looking at them like, you know, with a blank stare. That's because this is what's going through my head. Okay, ready? Sit down, buckle up, listen. Whenever I was 12 years old, my sister left me. She ran away from home. She never came back. She disappeared into the blue, into the wind. The wind got her. She flew away. Whatever. Whenever I was 15, a few months before I turned 16, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. I got sat down at the dinner table all by myself with none of my siblings around, none of my older siblings. I'm the youngest, I'm the baby. Anyways, it was just me, my dad, and my mom. And both of them sat me down and told me that she got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and it all started there. Anyways, so my dad told us that he was going to stick around and he was going to help me take care of her, all that good stuff, you know? So he did that, and then comes whenever I was 18. Whenever I was 18 in 2022, my dad went out, and we had gotten into an argument the night prior. He called me the next day in the morning and told me to go to breakfast with him. I was the last one to see my dad. We went to breakfast, gave me a big hug and told me he'll see me after work, and I went home and I cleaned, I did my duties, and I took care of my mom. We waited all day, all afternoon, all night for my dad to get home. He didn't come home. We didn't know what was going on. I sat on the edge of my bed waiting for him to come home, and then I accidentally fell asleep. He didn't come home. We got a knock on the door. Well, it wasn't even a knock, it was banging. Somebody was banging on the door. So my mom comes in and she tells me somebody's banging on the door. It's like 11 o'clock at night. So we go and we open it, and it's 3 sheriffs. The sheriffs continued to tell us if we were the family of Renato Moya, la la la, whatever, and then told me and my mom that my father passed away in a 1-vehicle car accident. Anyways, fast forward, so that happened. We had his funeral, everything. Mind you, my mom's still fighting cancer. I'm still alone. My siblings aren't there. My siblings are fighting with me and my mom because of their shares, right? They want their shares. Inheritance, as you could call it. That's up to you. Anyways, besides the point, we buried my dad. The day after we buried my dad, we went to go gather my dad's belongings from his wrecked truck. We get home. I was getting the stuff down. My mom decided she was going to go check the chickens in the backyard. And my mom, like I said, has cancer. She's stage 4, so she's on like a really high dose of chemo. She went to the backyard. She tripped, she fell, she broke her hip and her femur. Had to call the ambulance. She told me to call my brother. I called my brother, and you want to know what he told me? What the fuck does it look like? I'm not an ambulance, and I'm not a doctor. Call the ambulance. I already did that, but okay, I was just calling to let you know what happened. Anyway, so who went on the trip to the hospital with her? Me. Of course, me. Failed to mention, I dropped out of high school whenever I was 16, 17. I just couldn't do it. I was very busy with trying to take care of my mom, also trying to sell stuff to get money to help pay for my mom's chemo treatments. So, that's that. Anyways, went to the hospital with her. She went into emergency surgery, and this was in 2022. So she got her first surgery on her leg in 2022, and then my grandpa passed away in June. Yeah. So 2 deaths in 1 year, right? Yeah. Anyways, so after that, my mom's leg wasn't healing. So here comes 2023. My mom got another surgery, didn't heal. So then here comes 2024. Another surgery, didn't heal. Decided to sign up for high school again and get my diploma. 2025 comes around the corner. My mom is on bed rest. She's bedridden. She can't walk. She can't nothing. So who's showering my mom? Me. Who's feeding my mom? Me. Who's taking care of everything at the house? Me. Who's going to work 40 hours a week? Me. Who's also trying to do schoolwork to get my diploma? Me. So, anyways, as time goes by, comes May of 2025, my mom got her surgery, I think at the beginning of 2025. 2025 is a blur for me. It was a very depressing year. Anyways, she got her 4th surgery on the same leg. They cut into the same scar 4 different times. Anyways, wasn't healing. My mom couldn't walk still after her 4th surgery. Still fighting cancer, still on chemotherapy. They had to cut her chemo because her body wasn't strong enough to withstand the side effects of it. One day, I came home. My mom was completely swollen everywhere. She couldn't move. So what did I do? Call the ambulance, right? My mom went to the hospital in April. She didn't get out until May, after her birthday. Her birthday is on the 13th of May. She got out on the 15th of May. Whenever she got out, she got out on the 18th of May. 9, 21, 2, 3, 4. Right? Something like that. Okay, anyways, she got out on hospice. The day my mom got out was my graduation day for my diploma. Did I go? No, I did not. Why? Because I had to take care of my mom, because none of my siblings wanted to help me. No matter how many times I begged them to help me, they didn't help me. Okay, so I didn't attend my own graduation. My mom came home on hospice. I got my diploma. I showed my mom. My mom was barely alive whenever I showed her, and yeah, that was very heartbreaking for me. Very, very heartbreaking. She told me, "I'm proud of you," and then went back to sleep. On the 24th of May is when my mom passed away. Love that. My brother, my crackhead older brother, was in jail, and according to him, that was my fault because I wouldn't bail him out to say his goodbyes to my mother. My other older brother was just giving me a hard time for his inheritance, for his life insurance, the life insurance she had. That's what he wanted. He wanted to give me a hard time and tell me that I needed to get away from my mom because I was going to become depressed, because I wouldn't leave my mom's side the whole time she was in bed. I laid with her every single hour, every single minute, and every single second of the day until my mom took her last breath. I was the one to watch her take her last breath. I was the one to sit there through it all and tell her how much I loved her and that it was going to be okay with none of my siblings by my side. Comes her funeral. My older brother, working at Noblin, completely discluded me from everything. Completely. So that's that. Buried my mom, got through that. One night, I decided to quit my job because of how depressed I was. I have not had a job since. My fiance has been financially taking care of me since then. Decided to start talking to my sister, even though I haven't talked to her in years since I was a little kid. So, yeah, that happened. Only lasted 6 months. Don't talk to her no more. Because I stuck up for my grandmother. So now who's here taking care of our grandmother alone? You got that right. Me. Right. Anyways, one night, decided to sign up for college. Got a call the next day. Went in for the application process and all that stuff. And I got in. And that started at the end of October, beginning of November. Been in it since. Yep. Trying to get through college, trying to work through my personal life, trying to take care of my relationship, trying to take care of my grandmother while trying to be a part of everybody else's lives and be there for everybody, right? Right. Get a call one day that my other brother, the one that worked at the funeral, is now in jail. So who's the one taking care of all of it? Oh, you got that right. Don't think twice about it. Me, right? So, now let's add that to the plate of shit that I have. So my plate is overfilling right now and I'm almost out of room. So, moral of the story is when somebody tells you you can't do something, or whenever you feel like you're not capable of doing it, just know you're more than capable, because there's people out here like me with so much on their plate and just like to add more things, and just push through life like nothing. So, yeah. Anyways, hope that gave you a little bit of persuasion and encouragement. By August, I will be done with college. I will be in the career path I chose, and yeah. I hope my parents are proud, and now I'm considered an orphan, also considered an only child, the youngest child with no siblings by my side to tell me that I'm gonna do good. So, with none of my family members by my side, like my immediate family, zilch, just my grandma. Lost my grandpa, lost my dad, and lost my mom. It's just me.
I went on a date with this guy and he was getting progressively more and more rude to me, yet still invited me back to his place because he wanted to, do certain things. I let this man get butt naked. Well, his socks were on. Meanwhile, I had all my clothes on. I proceed to look at his junk and say, yeah, there's nothing really in this for me, so I think I'm just gonna go. So if I'm ever sad, I just remember
You might want to go grab some tape your jaw shut, because odds of your jaw being on the floor when you hear this story are high. But I'm happy to say it's the best ending to the worst story. Guys, this is the very first story I ever told on TikTok, and back then I pronounced her name wrong. I said Allison Batha, but I think it's Allison Bata. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably so wrong, but I just went to her TikTok profile to make sure I pronounced it correctly. She follows me. Allison, yeah, I'm never gonna get over that. Allison, message me, I need to talk. Nevertheless, this is the story of Allison Bata. one of the most insane stories I've ever heard to this day. Also, just want to say, in case Allison sees this, Allison, you were literally the biggest inspiration to so many people, and I look up to you so much, but let's get into it. The two perpetrators that Allison had the misfortune of meeting were France and Tiens. A little bit of background on both. France was the son to a policeman. Childhood, fine. When he was a teenager, not fine. He made friends with the wrong crowd, was an absolute menace, got expelled from school, causing him and his family to move to what was back then known as Port Elizabeth in South Africa. One of France's biggest and favorite hobbies became worshipping the devil. Yes, he got a girlfriend who claimed to be the head witch of a coven, and together they spent a lot of time doing rituals and manifesting demons. And I know Satanism doesn't always mean worshipping the devil, but in this case it does. France soon dropped out of school and started claiming that he was possessed by the devil. And then he went into the army. How scary is that? A man that is claiming to be possessed by the devil being in charge and around so many weapons. He left the army, got married, had a baby, abandoned his family, got married again, had another baby, and throughout it all he was still getting in trouble with the law, committing petty crimes, and continuing to claim that he had supernatural powers from Satan himself. At 26 years old, France meets 19-year-old Tiens. Tiens had a rough upbringing. He was not born into the greatest family, unfortunately. At 15 years old, he dropped out of school, turned to substances to cope, got involved in petty crime, and then eventually also joined the army. That was one of the things that him and France had in common, but Tiens also dated a witch girlfriend, and the two of them worshipped the devil together as well. France and Tiens met in June of 1994, and they would become a volatile pairing. France told his new friend Tiens that he possessed the power of the devil, and I think that Tiens started to look up to France a little bit. The two of them would go on to do horrible, disgusting things. They frequently visited graveyards in the middle of the night doing weird things, and then they would go on an SA spree. They would go out looking for women to attack and SA simply because they wanted to. And because France specifically thought that he deserved to, because he thought he was so attractive that women loved him, and he thought that he deserved to get whatever he wanted to get from them. Sick, sick, sick. On December 4th of 1994, France and Tiens SA'd a victim together, a 21-year-old woman that was 3 months pregnant. After the attack, the woman went straight to the police station and reported it. France and Tiens got arrested, but released pending a further court appearance, and it was before that pending court appearance that Allison would be taken as their victim and put through things no human being should ever be put through, let alone survive. Allison surviving the things that she was put through was unheard of. To me, there's no other way to describe it other than a miracle, truly. Allison Bata grew up a very happy and loved girl. Her mother raised her in a beautiful way, and she was really raised to be such an incredible person with nothing but love to give. At the time of this case, Allison was 27 years old, and she was thriving, living her best life. She had graduated school, spent a few years traveling around, and had chosen to settle down in what was known back then as Port Elizabeth in South Africa. December 18th of 1994, it was a Sunday. After a fun night out with her friends, Allison came home after dropping off one of her friends at her apartment. She pulled into her parking lot, pulls in, parks her car, turns her car off, and all of a sudden someone swings open her driver's side door, and Allison is caught so off guard when she sees a man standing right outside her door with a sharp weapon. That man was 26-year-old France. He looked at her and said, quote, "Move over or I will kill you," end quote. At first, France keeps telling Allison that he's not gonna hurt her. He says that he just needs her car for something. Big fat lie. France asks Allison what her name is. She quicks quick on her feet and tells him a fake name. Allison asks France what his name is, and he also gives a fake name. And Allison is trying to keep her calm, incredibly good under the worst kind of pressure, but she is pleading for him to let her out of the car. She says, "Just let me out, you can keep the car." But France, of course, has bad intentions. He tells her that he just needs to go and find his friend, so they drive to go find this friend. The friend, who is none other than 19-year-old Tiens. Tiens gets in the back of the car, and his eyes look scary. They're just black. They just look evil, and I imagine Allison's stomach turned at just the sight of him. This was late at night, by the way. It was dark outside, and France drove the three of them until there was no other cars around, and he pulled into a secluded area. Tiens gets out of the car, leaving France and Allison alone, and France turns to her and says, "Are you going to fight?" And then he continues to SA her aggressively. Allison, in that moment, remembers trying to keep her dignity, aware of what was going on, but she kept thinking to herself, "He is doing this to your body, not to you. Your mind is safe. He can't touch your mind. You will get through this." She just kept repeating that to herself over and over again, trying to disassociate from what was going on, from the terrible situation that she was in. After France was done, he looked at Tiens outside of the car and asked him if he wanted to SA Allison, talking about her in the most degrading manner, and Tiens says yes, and he goes in the car and he takes his turn in SAing her. After that, the two of them stand there and discuss if they should let Allison go or if they should kill her. And remember, the two of them are pending a court appearance for the SA case they just committed 14 days ago, so the two of them in their little pea-sized brains, they're like, like, no, we shouldn't let her go, because if we let her go and she goes to the police, we will get in more trouble. So the two of them think that they have no other choice but to murder her. They're having this discussion right in front of Allison, and because their brains are so small, they're talking amongst themselves. They're using their real names, Franz and Tien's, and Allison takes note of that, which is very important. Before she knew it, Allison was outside of the car on the ground. Franz was on top of her, attacking her with both of his hands around her neck, using as much force as he could, to the point where he crushed her windpipe, cutting off her air supply completely, causing Allison to zone out. Then Franz grabbed the sharp weapon, took it to Allison's stomach over and over again, like a frenzy attack 35 times, and him and Tian thought that that would be it. But then they realized that Allison was still alive, so they took the sharp weapon across her neck 16 times. And remember, Franz had crushed Allison's windpipe with his hands, and unknowingly so, when he took the sharp weapon, he cut through the windpipe, giving her air supply again. So basically, he did the opposite of what he was trying to do. Allison regains consciousness. She comes back to it when she hears Franz and Tien's again talking amongst themselves about whether or not they think she's still alive. When she hears this, she stays as still as she possibly can to make them think that she isn't. And it works. They leave her there, deciding that there was no possible way that she could have survived that attack. They throw her clothes that were inside of the car out of the car, and they drive off in her car. Allison is left there, lying on the ground in the dark in the middle of nowhere, attempting to assess the situation, trying to figure out what to do next, and I don't even know how. She had at least 50 injuries. I don't even know how your mind can come up with a clear thought, but she's trying to think when she hears a gurgling sound. She's confused for a second until she realizes that that sound is coming from her throat. The sound was her windpipe. They're just going in and out through it because she can't control it. She goes to feel her neck with her hand, but she feels nothing. Because her injuries are so severe, there's just a massive gaping hole, and she feels nothing but blood. Allison laid on that floor, and she thought, I'm not gonna let them get away with this. I'm not gonna let them do this to another person. She thought that at the very least, she would do what she could to hope and try and help her attackers get caught, which is when she took the little strength that she had left and wrote their names on the sand, Franz and Tien's. Right after that, she wrote on the sand what she wanted people to know that she was thinking about before she passed. She took her hand and she wrote, I love mom. And then Allison continued to lay there thinking that this was the end, but it wasn't. And Allison has said, quote, I realized my life was too valuable to let go of, and that gave me the courage to survive, end quote. That gives me chills every time. Also, now is a good time for me to tell you, if you have a queasy stomach, you should probably go. Allison started to move, thinking, I may as well give it my all. I'm not going to go down without a fight. When she started to get up on her feet, she was on her hands and knees when she felt something wet and something slimy on her feet. It was her intestines. Franz and Tien's had injured her abdomen so bad that her intestines were falling out of her body. She struggled trying to gather them back together, putting them back inside of her. When she noticed that her shirt had been thrown out of the car, she grabbed the shirt and used that to pack her intestines inside of her and pulled it as close as she could against her to try and keep them in. And Allison tried to stand back up again, but then her vision went black. She couldn't see anything, so she's holding her intestines in with one hand, and with the other she reaches up to her eyes to see what's going on, but she feels nothing. There's nothing there. Because of the injuries to her neck and her throat, her head was hanging off backwards. She couldn't see because her head was halfway detached off her body. So with her only free hand, she reaches up to her head behind her body, pulls her head forward kind of back in place, helping her vision return temporarily. She's literally holding her body together with both of her hands. I have no clue the strength it must have taken is hard for me to comprehend. Allison managed to drag herself onto the road, the full moon lighting her path, hoping that somebody would stop and rescue her. When she got to the road, she collapsed. She saw headlights. One car drove towards her, but straight past her, but the second car stopped, thankfully. In that car was a man called Tian, not to be confused with the perpetrator Tian's. Other people were in the car as well, but he was a vet, so he had some sort of medical knowledge, and he was an absolute hero that night. As soon as he saw Allison's injuries, he ripped off his shirt and used it to apply pressure on Allison's injuries. He had also noticed that Allison's thyroid was out of her neck, and he had some knowledge in medicine, obviously, so he knew how to place the thyroid back in place somehow, while one of his other friends called 911. The ambulance took so long to get there. 2 hours, 2 whole hours. What do you mean? But the entire time, Tian was trying to do everything that he could to keep Allison with him. He came up with a system for her to squeeze his hand in response to him because she couldn't speak, obviously. And he kept telling her over and over again, you have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen. Please keep them open. Please keep them open. After 2 hours, the ambulance arrived, rushed Allison to the hospital, and the entire time Tian refused to leave her side. Allison was immediately taken into surgery. The wound to her neck was so severe the doctors could see the top of her spine. Those doctors had to put in so much work to save her life, but luckily the doctor that was on call that night was a throat specialist, like What are the odds of that? I don't know, but the odds were in Allison's favor. Doctors have said if Tian didn't put her thyroid back in place or whatever he did, then Allison would not have made it. It was also found that the injuries to her stomach somehow missed every vital organ, and the injuries to her neck and throat missed every major artery. If that was not the case, then Allison would not have made it to see another day. Absolutely insane. But after hours of surgery, Allison survived and she went into ICU for recovery. She couldn't talk after the surgery, obviously, so when talking to authorities, she just wrote down on a piece of paper her attackers' names. But get this, police said, that's not good enough. We need you to say their names out loud. What? So the tube that Allison was literally using to breathe was taken out long enough so that Allison could say out loud, my attackers were Franz and Tian's. And only after that did police go and immediately arrest them. And when they were arrested, officers told them that they were wanted for SA and attempted murder. And they were so confused about the attempted murder because they thought that there was absolutely no chance that Allison had survived that, but against all odds, she had. They were both charged with 8 charges. They pled guilty and were sentenced to life in prison in August of 1995 with no parole. Oh, and by the way, in trial, Franz tried to blame his actions on the fact that he was possessed by Satan. So there's that. Allison was discharged from the hospital on New Year's Eve. She moved back in with her mom who helped take care of her. But she still had so much recovery to do, not only physically, but also emotionally. But Allison knew that she wanted to use her story to help others. So she started traveling around the world, telling her stories in at least 35 countries, helping inspire other survivors to come forward and tell their stories as well. Since then, she has written 2 books, and Allison has said, quote, the attack has put me on this path where I get to travel the world and help inspire other people, end quote. Allison met and married a man, and I think they are now separated, but doctors had told her that because of her injury, she would not be able to have her own child, but I'm so happy to say that she was. Allison fell pregnant and she was able to carry her child full term, and Tian, our lovely hero Tian, became a doctor after that incident, and he was one of the doctors who helped birth Allison's 2nd child. How cute is that? Oh, and one more thing that's gonna make you guys mad for a second. In July of 2023, after only serving 28 years, Franz and Tian's were granted parole and placed under supervision. When that happened, Allison posted on her Facebook page, she said, quote, the day I hoped and prayed would never come. And I was asked, how will you feel if they ever get parole? My immediate answer was always, I'm hoping I'll never find out, end quote. Absurd. The people that did that are allowed to just be free and walk free? What do you mean? Because actually, what do you mean? But I'm so happy to say that this year in 2025, the decision to grant them parole was taken back. So both of them were sent back to jail, thankfully, and they will remain in custody, which makes me so incredibly glad for Allison, like thank God. And I want to end this video with a quote from Allison. It reads, quote, remind yourself that you do not have to take responsibility for what others do. Life is not a collection of what happens to you, but of how you've responded to what has happened to you, end quote. I've known this story for a long time, and every single time that I talk about it or read about it or hear about it, it makes me want to cry. Again, Allison, on the off chance that you're seeing this, I'm gonna message you right now. I would feel incredibly grateful to have the chance to talk to you, and I hope that I told your story the way that you would want to have it told. But yeah, that's it from me today. Thank you for spending time with me today and for listening to Allison's insane, inspiring story. I hope you guys are having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.
I fear I have a story time that's been brewing for years now, and I'm finally ready to tell it because this was the most insane first date I have ever gone on. So we'll start off. I matched with Homeboy on Hinge probably like 2.5 years ago. Yeah, he looked pretty fine. His profile was cool. He's like an anime illustrator and all of that. We had great conversation. He invited me out to a cabaret. One thing about me is I love the idea of a cabaret, never been to a cabaret. So the fact that he invited me to one, I was like, take my money. I'll pay for my ticket. Take me to the cabaret. I would love to see a cabaret in person. Fast forward to the date. He tells me where to meet him. I meet him there. I get there and I cannot find this man. And then I see someone that kind of resembles him, but I'm like, that's not him. Because in his profile pictures, he had a full-on beard. And this doesn't even look like a man. Turns out that was him. He shaved the beard off. Word of advice, if your pictures have you in only a beard, show up to the date with your beard. Maybe. Nonetheless, I get there. I'm dressed like a grown woman, and he's dressed normal, but the beard being gone, he just looks like a 15-year-old boy, and I look like a grown woman. I look like I'm grooming this man, even though he's older than me. I digress. We get there. He's like, oh, I didn't realize I needed tickets for this thing. So we are going to be in general admission line. I don't mind standing in line. That didn't bother me. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, let's just stand in line and wait. I have like social anxiety a little bit. So I don't like when people know that I'm on a first date. But this man is talking so loud. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe we're on our first date. I'm so excited to be on our first date. And people are looking at us and I'm just like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. Finally, we get inside. We go to the bar. He's like, oh, do you want a drink? And I'm like, yeah. Can I get an espresso martini with tequila? He gets me my espresso martini. He gets himself a drink. Did not hear what he ordered. We cheers. We're drinking, yada, yada. We both finish our drink. He asks me if I want another one. And I'm like, yeah, why not? So he gets me another one and he gets himself an espresso martini with tequila as well. The drink he had before was more like I want to say like mango-y, or it was orange colored. So it was fruity. That's not a bad thing though. So he goes to go take a sip of his espresso martini and this man looks like he's in pain. Dire pain. I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I don't really drink. And I was like, so why'd you get an espresso martini? What did you drink before? He was like, oh, that was a mocktail. I was like, so why didn't you get another mocktail? He's like, because you're drinking. And I was like, listen, buddy, no peer pressure here. If you don't drink, you don't drink. You do not have to drink because I'm drinking. That's not going to bother me. If you want to have a mocktail, or even if you just want a glass of juice, drink your glass of juice. I'm having my espresso martini. But don't put yourself through this pain if you don't want to. And he's like, okay, you want the rest? So he gives me the rest of his espresso martini. Cabaret's good and well, whatever. We leave. He's like, are you hungry? I'm like, oh, yeah, actually. Let's go get food. So we go to dinner. We're sitting at dinner. Dinner is fine. It's towards the end of dinner that we're talking and I'm telling him, like, I forget what story I'm telling him, but I'm telling him a story. And as you can tell from this story, I use my hands to talk. And homeboy, as I'm talking, he's like, and reaches for my hands and like clasps my hands. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I just wanted to hold hands while we talk. And I was like, I'm using them. He's like, oh, but I just thought it would be romantic. I was like, I get it. But like, I'm literally telling you a story with my hands. I don't want to do that. And he's like, okay. So then the restaurant is closing. The waiter comes over to give us the bill, basically. He gives him the bill. And as he gives him the bill, he goes to reach out of his pocket to get his wallet. And I don't know if these were thoughts that were supposed to happen in here, but they were happening out here. He goes, I hope I have enough. I hope I have enough. I hope I have enough. And I'm sitting there like this. I'm looking at the waiter. The waiter's looking at me. And I'm just like, I might need to pull out my wallet. Gives the man his credit card. Thank God the man had enough. He's like, oh, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I think it's time for me to go home. He's like, can I walk you to the train? Train's like 15 minutes away. Yeah, sure, why not? Walk me to the train. So we start walking to the train, and he's like, I have a question to ask you. And I'm like, sure, what's up? He's like, I'm just a little too embarrassed to ask you this question. And I was like, what do you mean? Just ask the question. And he's like, can I kiss you? And I was like, no. He's like, okay. So we keep walking, we're talking, yada, yada. Then at this point, I really need to use the bathroom. So we're walking by a bar, and I'm like, it's either I go into this bar and use the bathroom now, or I get on the train and have to hold it for like an hour before I get home. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to this bar. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to run in there so I can use the bathroom. He's like, okay. So I run in. There's 2 bathrooms. I don't know if this part of the story is relevant, but there's 2 bathrooms. I go into one. The other one is open. He doesn't go in. I come out of the bathroom, and he goes into the bathroom that I was in. I was like, there was a whole second bathroom you could have used. But while he's using the bathroom, I'm like, I can't believe this is what's happening right now. So let me just grab another drink. So I get another drink, and I'm going to down it pretty quickly. And I'm signing to pay for my drink. He comes out, and they're like playing jazz music. And all of a sudden, in the corner of my eye, as I'm like this, signing my check, I see in the corner of my eye, this. Like, he is breakdancing in a jazz club. I was like, this cannot be real. So I chug my drink, and I'm like, okay, let's go. We're like 2 minutes from the train now. He says, oh, can I kiss you on the cheek? No, before that, he asked me, he's like, can I ask you another question? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. He's like, no, I'm too embarrassed. I don't want to ask. And I'm like, man, if you don't ask this damn question. He's like, it's the same question as before. Can I kiss you? And I was like, no. The answer is still no. And he was like, can I kiss you on the cheek? And I was like, you know what? Fine. Kiss me on the cheek. I lied. Something happened before that. He asked if he could hold my hand, and I already felt bad for the guy, so I was like, yeah, go ahead. Hold my hand. We don't even like interlock fingers. We hold our hands like this, like friends hold hands. And as soon as our hands clasp, he goes, with the other hand. I said, oh, am I this man's first bad bitch? Never be a man's first bad bitch. Anyways, so then fast forward, that thing happens where he asks about the kiss, and then he asks to kiss me on the cheek, and I say, yes, you can kiss me on the cheek, because we're at the train now, and it's time for me to go home. And I, like, turn my cheek so he can plant one right there, and he, like, swivels his head to go kiss me on the lips, and what are you doing? He goes, and I quote, I thought you'd be drunk enough that you wouldn't care. I looked at him in such distress, disgust, and fear. And I said, you should probably never say that to a woman again. And at this moment, I'm getting on that train and leaving. Please don't get on the train with me. I don't care if we're going in the same direction. Wait for the next train. Never speak to me again. And I proceeded to get on the train and go home. So that was my horror story of a first date, like 2.5 years ago. I did run into him at like a street festival, and I saw him and I was like, oh my God, I have to act like I don't see him. And I was looking at waist beads, and he came up and he's like, Carly, hey, Carly. And I just ignored him like my life depended on it, because it did. I ignored the shit out of him until he walked away. And I was just like, and then my friend came over and I was like, oh my God, that was him. And that was the day that I realized I'm just too nice to men, even when they make me uncomfortable. And that needed to change.
Story time about the worst date I've ever been on. So, my best friend and I are talking about dating and how we have the worst history of dating ever. And kind of laughing about it, but also like, what's wrong with this kind of vibe. And one of the ones that we just couldn't stop laughing at was like one of the worst dates I have ever been on in my life. I met this guy through a show I was on. He asked for my number and then was like, I'd love to take you out sometime. And I'm like, okay. I was just kind of getting out of something, so I didn't really want to get back into anything yet. But I was like, he's very cute and he'd be a great place to start. He's like, hey, I'm free this day, whatever. Do you want to go to a movie? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go to a movie. So it gets to day of the movie and he texts me and he's like, hey, what seat are you in? And I'm like, I'm Southern, so I'm used to traditional. If you ask to go on the date, then you pay for the date kind of thing. But like, whatever. You know, I was broke. I assumed maybe he's in the same place. So like, I was kind of like, I don't love it. But at the same time, like, fine, I'll pay for my own ticket. Comes to the time of the movie and he's like, oh, just letting you know I'm going to be like 20 minutes late. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but don't worry. I'll make it before the movie starts. About 30 minutes into the movie, he finally gets there, and I'm like, at this point, I don't really care if he comes or not when he arrives, but, you know, he's there, fine, whatever. We quietly say hi, and then the movie was something you could sing along to. I don't know why I'm being secret about this. It was Beauty and the Beast, so it was like a little while ago. This man started singing along with the movie in the movie theater. And it's like right when it came out too. It was like maybe it had been out for a week, so like still full theaters. He proceeds to sing animatedly to me every time a song came on that he knew. Every time. Be our guest. Just animate. To each his own, you know, I guess. But like, to me, I'm not really like into it if you're singing to me on the first date in a crowded theater when we don't know each other very well and I definitely don't know anybody there. The movie finally ends and I'm like, okay, let's go. As we're walking out, he's like, oh man, you know, I'm so sorry that I was late. I was just like really hungry and I just needed some food, but I didn't get you any because I figured, you know, like you were already in the movies and like you had like popcorn or something, so you were already hungry. And then he sees my hands and I have like Reese's Pieces and like a drink. And he like looks And then the next thing I knew, he took the Reese's pieces out of my hands and just started pouring himself some and just like taking like handfuls of it. And then when he's done, hands me back the Reese's pieces and then takes a sip of my drink afterwards. And like, again, mind you, we don't know each other very well. We worked with each other for like 2 seconds and then texted a little. Just like, please get me home. I don't want to be here anymore. So we finally make it to the door and he's like, oh, well, you know, I would ask you if you want to go get food, but like clearly you've already eaten because you've had your Reese's pieces, but like I'm down to take you if you want it. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm super full from my Reese's pieces and my drink. And he's like, oh, okay, great. Well, you want me to walk you to your car? And I'm like, absolutely not. Like I can see it from here and I'm good. And I'm actually in a rush. So, which obviously I wasn't, but I was like, I'm actually in a rush. So like, I'm just going to run and I'm going to go. But you know, I'll see you when I see you kind of thing. And he was like, oh yeah, I had so much fun with you. Like, I would love to like do this again. And I'm like, okay, bye. And just like turn around and like ran as fast as I could away. And he texted me afterwards and was like, I had so much fun. Would love to see you again. And I'm like, which part? Which part? I need to know which part was fun for you. Yeah, so if anyone wants to know what it's like dating in LA, don't do it. Honestly, my stories don't get much better from here. It's just like that one was kind of the worst because it was publicly embarrassing. But like, dating in LA is trash.
This is the real true story of when a girl moved to my hometown in 2018, pretended to be Australian, spoke with an Australian accent, lied about her name, made up a whole backstory, and then didn't tell anyone until me and a couple other friends found her actual Twitter account where she was posting about how she was pretending to be Australian in her new town. This is that story. I was a senior in high school. My hometown is split into 2 high schools, North and Central. I went to North. This person went to Central, but it'll make sense. I hear news that a new person has moved into town and that they're going to join the swim team. I'm on the swim team, so this is news to all of us, and that they're apparently very good. Apparently they were a junior Olympic swimmer. That also turned out to be a lie. And they were moving to our town, and their name was Hazel. One day I go to a football game. Randomly, a couple people from Central are there, one of them Hazel. People come up to me and start being like, Iris, you have to meet Hazel. Hazel knows about you. Hazel has heard of you. Through my mom, I'll tell you that too. A few days before, my mom had been at the dog park and had come home and been like, Iris, I met this young girl who I think might have been gay at the dog park. She just moved here. She's going to be on the swim team. And I was like, oh my God, wait, I think I heard about this girl. And she was like, yeah, I told her about you and she knows your name and she's going to like say hi to you if she can. Nowhere in this interaction did my mom say that her name was Hazel. In fact, she said her name was Nicole. And she never mentioned that she had an Australian accent. I forgot about the Nicole thing. As soon as I saw Hazel, I was like, oh, interesting, an Australian person. Our whole little Ohio town was very wowed by this person. It got them like top tier social standing immediately. But I'm at the football game, someone introduces me to them. They're like, oh my God, I met your mom. They have an Australian accent. Let me make this so clear, like a thick one. I'm like, yeah, my mom told me about you, blah, blah, blah. We start chopping it up. We end up hanging out the entire football game. She stands with me at the football game. We become friends. We exchange info. I'm one of the few people she like kind of really knows in the town. I go home. I told my mom I met her. I told her that her name was actually Hazel. My mom was like, oh, I just must have misremembered that. I didn't think to mention the Australian thing because it kind of felt like it would be hard to miss. Pretty much immediately, me and this girl start like texting and talking every day. And the texts are kind of overtly flirty. We like now knowing we don't make sense as 2 types of gay people, but I'm not that there are rules, but no longer my type. Probably just there's like 5 lesbians in the town kind of situation. But so we're hanging out and it's unclear if it's like a friend vibe or something more vibe, but we're hanging out in person. We're going to this place called Top of the World, this big hill you can drive up to. I have dozens of videos of this girl talking in an Australian accent and I might have to post them. She introduces me to these 2 dudes from Central, Cody and something else, and we all start hanging out as a group pretty much almost every day. The 4 of us get pretty close. We hung out a lot of the time like in her neighborhood and in her driveway, but she wouldn't let us in her house and she wouldn't let us meet her parents. We were under the impression that it was like they're not accepting of like her lifestyle thing, but now we know that it's because she was lying. So for about a month, we go on with this. I'm friends with Hazel, the Australian junior Olympic swimmer. One day, I'm sitting in... Oh, by the way, this is right around the time of homecoming. Both of our schools had different homecomings, you know. there's like 5 lesbians. We're close. I'm not sure what it is. I'm a little interested. I'm like, do you want to go to homecoming with me? And she's like, yeah. I think the very next day, I'm sitting in biology or whatever, and the 2 dudes that we'd been friends with texted me in like a separate group message, and we're like, Iris, we have crazy news. And just said like, Hazel's not who she says she is. And then sent a bunch of screenshots from a Twitter account of someone named Nicole, whose pictures were of Hazel. And the post said shit, like it was tweets going back months being like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to this new town. I'm gonna fuck with them. I might like put on an accent, blah, blah, blah. And there's like her friends from her current town in the comments being like, LMAO, how's it been going? And her commenting back being like, no one suspects a thing. Her posting like almost daily about how she's lying to an entire town about who she is. And they send this to me and I'm like stunned. I'm like, what the fuck? And then they also share that she's been saying really shitty stuff about me to people. She's been saying things that I find are really funny. She was saying, 1, that the women I dated were too hot for me. I completely agree with that. Thank you. Number 2, that I listened to the Dixie Chicks too much in the car. I only had CDs, and I love the Dixie Chicks. And 3, and the most hurtful at the time, was that she doesn't date fat chicks. Oof. And that she was going to cancel on homecoming like the day of. Of course, I'm not emotionally invested in this. Like, I don't like this chick. I'm just more so, what an odd scheme to run. What a weird thing to do. So I get this information, and mind you, like I said, the entire town like knows this girl by name. Like, she's kind of like a local celebrity. And I have this information, all these screenshots, and I was like, what is there to do? At that time, Finsta was big. I had left biology class. I was like, I gotta go. I went on to Finsta. Hang on, car's passing. I posted all of the pictures to Finsta. All the pictures, all the evidence, all the tweets. Something with a caption like, hey guys, I know this is batshit crazy, but this girl's not Australian, her name's not Hazel, and why did she, on? And it blows up quick. Like, I started just accepting, immediately I started getting people requesting to be part of my Finsta. I let everyone in there for the day. I let anyone who wanted to come on there and see it. And I left school and went home and was like, this is just kind of a jarring, weird thing. Like, not only did this person say, like, things about me that were hurtful at the time. I was a teenager, I don't know. I was just like, huh? So as soon as I get home, I'm like sitting with my mom or something out front, and this chick, Hazel, starts calling me and being like, oh my God, Iris, this isn't what it looks like. You don't understand. This isn't what it looks like, blah, 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 blah. Starts telling me that she loves me. Never had done that before. I don't know if she was going for like a, please, you're my friend, I love you, or if she was going for like a, please, I love you. I couldn't tell. I didn't care. She was just begging me to take the post down, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And from that day forward, I didn't talk to that girl ever again, except for the fact that for about a year afterwards, I was getting texts from like burner numbers, like text now numbers, saying stuff like, we all know what you did. Wait, no, actually, the very day it happened, people started texting me on her behalf, being like, I remember them saying like, you fucked with the wrong bitch, and being like, we're coming for you, like making these ambiguous threats. And I was like, you want me to delete it? So what, she can keep running the scheme? What's the point of this? But for the next year or so, I was getting occasional texts on burner numbers from people, and I would just disregard them a lot. But then at one point, someone started texting me, and I was showing my mom, and she was like, send him my number. So my mom was like waiting for the text, and they started texting my mom, and they start going off on her being like, your daughter's a psycho. She's like, she's crazy. And my mom keeps talking to this person to the point that she like talks them down off the ledge, like kind of conflict negotiates, to the point that this person is admitting like, yeah, I'm sorry, Hazel asked me to do this. Like, I think I've just like got old beefs from something from middle school or something. Like, really calmed down. And my mom was like, it's okay, I appreciate you talking. They talked for like an hour, and I totally forgot about that. And then like a year after that, someone that I hadn't talked to since like junior high reached out to me for whatever reason, and then brought it up in conversation, was like, hey, by the way, you like that, yeah, that was me. Because I'm pretty sure at the time that I had guesses on who it was, and had like texted them being like, no, I think this is blank. And then later on, that girl did say to me like, yeah, that was me. And then was like, yeah, Nicole is crazy. She turned out to be psycho. I know she turned out to be psycho. But then a few months go by and it's time for swim season. Oh, did you forget she was supposed to be a swimmer? I'm not a good swimmer. Let's make this so clear. I'm really, I don't swim anymore. I was a really bad competitive swimmer. I was there for vibes. But I had shooters on that team. I had friends. And that year's swim tryouts were being held at Columbus School for Girls, a private school that I lifeguarded at. I was a lifeguard there. I was lifeguarding from like 3 o'clock after school until like 7, and then I was going to go right to the swim tryouts that were at that same pool at like 7:30. So I know people are coming at like 7:30. At like 5 though, way early, I look over. It's been like months, and Hazel Nicole walks in, and I'm the only other person in this place. I tried to just ignore her. She walks up to me and tries to apologize, and I was like, girl, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I don't fuck with you at all. And she tried for a while, kept trying to apologize. I just wasn't saying anything that meant anything to me. And then everyone started to show up for swim trials. Everyone got in the water. I'm pretty sure she ended up leaving and she didn't join the swim team because everyone was like, hey, that was a weird thing you did to all of us and to Iris. And then I never saw or heard about her again. I hope she's doing well. I don't know why she pretended to be Australian for months on end. If you want me to post the videos of her talking, maybe I'll blur her face. But I'll post them.
Story time on how my college roommate had the cops called on us. So the dorms that we stayed in had 2 rooms with 2 girls in each room. My roommate we already met, but the girls across from us were random selections. This one roommate who I'm talking about in particular, we're gonna call her Lily. And so Lily and her best friend lived in the room across from us. Everything was cool. Lily, she was a little bit quirky, but she was super sweet, and she and I got close really quickly. We shared personal details about our lives, including our past relationship history. So a little background on her, she was a photographer and a poet. I'm a cosmetologist, so we based our friendship upon doing service for service with one another and just getting really close to each other. She joins this performing arts club we're going to call it Hollywood Arts. And my ex-boyfriend is on the e-board for that club. And he had a best friend in there as well. This will come into play later. Our first semester was really cool. Everything was smooth. And we went home for break, came back next semester thinking everything is about to be sweet. Her birthday arrives and I was supposed to do her nails, makeup, and wax for her birthday. Because our schedules kept conflicting, we were having an issue, and this kind of caused a falling out because she wasn't going to be able to get her birthday services done. We don't speak for a few days, and then when we finally do get to talk to one another, she tells me, if you give me the silent treatment again, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Okay, cool. We get past that. We're good again. One day, I'm waiting for her to get home from her Hollywood Arts meeting, and she comes home super, super late, out of the ordinary. She comes home. So the next day when I see her, I ask her, I'm like, oh, where were you? I'm thinking she found herself a little boo to be with. This girl starts giggling and tells me that she's been in my ex's dorm with him and his friends all night playing video games. Obviously, she knows that this is my ex. She knows, the situation between me and him. So I'm upset, but I'm trying not to show it because we had just made back up in our friendship. And this was her organization, and I didn't want to make it awkward for her. I'm not going to tell her, oh, she can't make friends in the club that she's a part of. I let it slide. And so for the next few weeks, I notice she starts spiraling with everything in her life. I'm hearing her on the phone with her brother, cursing him out. She's cursing her mom out. It is not her couple of weeks. I'm kind of keeping my distance from her at this point because I'm still kind of hurt over the ex thing. But we're still cool, I'm keeping it cordial. One night I'm sitting there with my 2 roommates, Rizzy and Angie, and we are just chilling. And then Lily comes busting through the door, screaming at the top of her lungs. She's like, oh, your ex and his best friend, they lied to me and blah, blah, blah. And of course, I'm there automatically irritated because why are you screaming about my ex and his friends? Why are y'all so close for you to be screaming about him? I'm confused. But we're all trying to calm her down so that we can understand what she's complaining about. And so then she's like, they cut me from the performance because remember, she's a poet and they had performances every semester. They cut me from the performance, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, they did it, they lied to me, blah, blah, blah. And even though I was not really, like, fucking with my ex or his friend at that moment, I was like, I don't think they would do that to you on purpose, Lily. Like, they're not spiteful like that. And you want to know what this girl told me? She was like, oh, you don't know them the way I do. You don't know him the way I know him. Mind you, at that point, I had been knowing my ex for like a good 3 years. And she had just met him like the semester before. As soon as she said that, I mentally checked out. I just let Angie and Rizzy handle the situation. I start distancing myself even more. And because I'm feeling hurt about it, I hit up my ex. I'm like, what happened that night? Like, why did she come in? I explained to him what had happened. And he told me the reason she was cut from the performance is because she didn't have her piece memorized. And they were supposed to have it memorized weeks ago. So me and my ex finished the conversation. We had also talked about like stuff that had happened between us. So I went to work feeling emotional. And while I was at work, she texted me saying, oh, are you still doing my nails? Because she had asked me to do it again for something. I'm not even in the mood to do her nails because of what had just happened the night before. But I tell her we're going to do it later during the week. I leave my shift that day, still feeling sad. I go in my room and I'm with my roommate, Angeli, my actual roommate who I shared it with. And I'm crying to her. Lily barges in the door and she looks at me and she's like, are you ready to talk now? And Angie turns to her and she's like, we're having a conversation. Mind you, there's like tears down my face while she's saying all of this. And so she storms out. Me and Angie wrap up our conversation and I leave the room to go wash my hair. Before I could even like get all my stuff into the bathroom, she comes storming out of her room. Mind you, Rizzy is sitting at her desk doing whatever. And Angie came out right behind me to go do something at her desk. And she's like, I told you what would happen if you didn't do this to me. If you did this to me again, I told you I didn't want to be your friend anymore. I don't want to be your friend anymore. So I was like, okay. Because one thing about me, I'm not going to beg anybody for friendship. If you don't want to be my friend, fine. I said, okay. This girl continues yapping. So now Angie is always 10 toes down. And I know she's going to be watching this. Angie comes in and defends me. She's like, you said you didn't want to be her friend anymore. Y'all established that. There's no reason to keep going on about the situation. Mind you, this girl, Lily, she had issues with everybody in the suite, low-key. But now it's like it was all coming to like this one big thing. When Angie defended me, Lily got really angry and she was like, this is an A and B conversation. You're always inserting yourself when nobody like asked you to include yourself, blah, blah, blah. So they start going back and forth and Lily gets in Angie's face and Lily is like 5'1", Angie is like 5'8". That was never a thing. And she's like in her face, like pointing her hands in her face. And Angie's like, Lily, if you don't get the fuck out of my face right now, I'm going to punch you in the face. That set her off. She was like, my mom used to beat my ass every day. I don't care if you hit me. And Angie was like, clearly she ain't beat it enough because look how you're acting. Lily, she opens the door to our dorm and starts going all throughout the res hall, going up and down the stairs, screaming and yelling at the top of her lungs. This girl comes back in the room and then she's screaming even more, foaming at the mouth. I wish I was over exaggerating this. And she gets on her knees and opens her arms. She started screaming, hit me, hit me. And at this point, all of us are just standing above her, just looking at her. We also had a friend over who lived across the hall. So the 3 of us are just looking at her, 4 of us, excuse me. And now we're just scared. And Angie was like, I don't even want to fight this girl because, like, something is very wrong. What are you doing? Angie and I decide to go to our friend's room across the hall. And Rizzy stays behind and records some of her breakdowns.
Are you fucking serious? Would you like me to help you in any way, shape, or form? Huh? I am done.
While we're in the friend's room, we start hearing police walkies. Mind you, they had just finished, like, you know, in the room smoking. And so it's boofing in there. We also just got stuff that we're not supposed to have in the dorm. So we run back across the hall. We're like, we got to hide everything. We got to air the room out. So once we finally let the cops in, they're being very nice until she starts being really rude to them. Someone had called the cops because she was making so much commotion. Because of the way she was acting, we were forced to give them our IDs. Immediately after the police left, we went to Res Life and filed a report on her, and she filed one on us too. She invited these two guys over, they moved all her stuff out, and she left that same night. A few weeks later, we got an email saying that we needed to have a investigation by Res Life and a meeting. And in that meeting, we explained to the mediator everything, and she was calling us stupid. She was acting difficult during the meeting. So the mediator kicked her out because of how rude she was being, and we had the full opportunity to be able to show all the evidence that we had. We were found not guilty, or whatever you want to call it. She ended up transferring out for the following school year. Then she transferred back in, and I saw her around campus a couple times. I don't think she ever saw me, but I had no beef with her at that point. And then maybe like 3 months ago, she tried to follow me on Instagram, and I have no beef with the girl, but that also doesn't mean we need to be cool on social media. So I just removed her as a follower, and yeah, like when she did that, it just reminded me, and I was like, I kind of need to tell this story one day. I wish her nothing but the best, and she must have really been having a hard time, but I was just over it. Like, she had to go.
Bro, I think the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me was about like a year ago whenever I was using the bathroom at Walmart and I was squatting to pee. And I didn't realize when you squat to pee, like it sounds loud, like a guy or whatever, right? And when I'm squatting and I'm literally halfway through pissing before somebody starts banging on my stall saying, "Oh my God, get out, I'm gonna call the police, I'm gonna call the police." And I'm like, bitch, what, why? I'm over here literally scrambling, trying to finish pissing, and this bitch is like, "I'm gonna call the police. There's a man in here, there's a man in here." And I'm like, there's a man in here? And the whole time I'm not thinking she's talking about me. I'm thinking she's like banging on the stall like to warn me or whatever, right? So now, like 30 seconds later, like there's this huge commotion. I'm trying to get my wet wipes to wipe. I'm trying to like get myself situated, try to get my bodysuit back on and stuff. And they're literally screaming at the stall saying, "Oh my God, there's a man in here, there's a man in here." So I finish pissing and I swing the stall door up and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm panicking because it was so fucking chaotic. And they all just stopped and stare at me. And I'm just like, what the fuck is y'all looking at? So I guess because of the way I'm built or the way I look or whatever, like they immediately come back to their senses like, oh, she's not a guy. And the one woman, she was like, "Why were you pissing so loud? You were peeing so loud. You had me scared. You had my daughter thinking there was a guy in here." So like that's when it all came together. I'm like, oh, the entire time they were fucking talking about me because I was squatting when I was peeing. And I guess it sounded like a damn man peeing in the bathroom. But yeah, ever since then, I have never went back to Walmart. I was so embarrassed. I've never showed my face on Walmart again.
For some reason, TikTok just do not want me to say what I need to say. But I'm going to say it anyway because that's who I am. Okay, so I'm going to get straight to the point. If you're new here, you're going to learn something today. And the lesson of the day is Milk is an open book. Milk living her truth, always did. I'm going to jump right into it, though. So last night, y'all know we was talking about the club situation, and I stated that I wouldn't date a strip club nigga. Like, they just not something to date. So somebody took it upon themselves, like they always do. They follow me on every platform just to talk shit, which is crazy, and think that they are taunting somebody when they really not. Like, you can't tell me nothing about myself that people don't already know, or that I don't mind telling them. Yes, I have 3 kids. Yes, I have 3 different baby daddies. But I was also in relationships with every last one of them. My first little girl,
Okay, here's the story of why I slapped the shit out of my little sister on Christmas Eve. I know you guys have been waiting. I'm sorry. I just put my youngest in the bed for a nap, and so now I can tell you guys the story. The nanny in question has been in our lives for 4 years. She was hired when my oldest, who's about to be 5, was 1. And she's had my youngest since my youngest, who's now 2, was 6 weeks old. In that time frame, she's also traveled with us a few times. One of the times she traveled with us was to my sister's wedding, in Mexico. In 2024, my sister, unfortunately, separated from her wife, and I noticed that her and my nanny were hanging out a lot more, which, I didn't want to read too much into. I'm a progressive. I don't believe that just because two people, they're both lesbians. So I didn't think that because they were lesbians, they were attracted to each other. I just thought, they were kicking it. Also, mind you, at this time, my nanny also was supposed to be getting married, but her wedding fell through as well. So I was like, oh, they're two people confiding in each other, nothing untoward. It wasn't inappropriate. Like, my sister and her would sometimes go out and hang out, but nothing crazy. But I do remember specifically something in my shondo was like, if this does go a certain way, you should probably have a conversation with them ahead of time. And so last year I said to both of them, hey, don't bring any bullshit into my house. This is an important thing, okay? Speaking to both of them, they both looked at me, and I spoke to them separately, not at the same time. They were like, what do you mean? My little sister literally looked at me and was like, oh my God, she's like a little sister to me. Like, I would never do that. My nanny in question was like, oh my God, absolutely not. I was like, cool, just had to be said. Like, if you guys are thinking of becoming intimate dating, don't bring any bullshit into my house. Of course. All right. Fast forward to a year later, this year, Mother's Day weekend. My sister and the nanny are hanging out, but it's mad late. It's midnight. And mind you, the nanny had been off since 6. I'm like, what the fuck is she still doing at the house? And then something in my spirit just went, they're fucking calmly. I'm a woman with anxiety. It was a calm, because they're fucking. But it's Mother's Day weekend. My in-laws are in town. My mom's in town. What am I going to do? Blow up the house? So I don't. And the next day we're supposed to be leaving for the Bahamas. Okay. We leave for the Bahamas. That was a shit show. Getting there, traveling with 2 kids under 4 was wild. And I'm at the bar, with my sister, when my brain literally goes, remember 2 nights ago how you thought your sister was fucking the nanny? That was a good time to ask. And before I even had a moment to process that we were in public or anything else, I looked at her and I was like, are you having sex with the nanny? And she was like, well, I mean, yeah, we've had sex before. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? I told you not to bring any bullshit in my house. What are you doing? Of course, just then my mom comes back into the bar we were at with my kids. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even handle this. Plus there were other things going around in my life during that trip that I was like, I can't handle this. And because I'm the eldest sister, I have been trained to keep a level head, never lose my shit, especially not on my siblings, to be the adult in the room all the time. And to my little sister's credit, she did try to talk to me, but I was like, if I speak to you right now, I am not certain I can control the desire to choke the shit out of you. So it's not a good time. So we didn't speak for a long time, probably 2 months, because I was mad. The nanny, and I was mad at her as well, obviously, because she was in my house. From my knowledge, the incidences where they were intimate did not happen in my house, but whatever. It was a boundary I had set because this nanny, I don't live anywhere near my family. And this nanny is the only support system I have outside of my family who lives in Los Angeles. I live in Atlanta, and I didn't want anything tinkering with that support system. Some more background that's probably important, I should have said earlier, is that this is actually year 3 of me being in remission from breast cancer. And that is important to this story because there also aren't very many people I trust with my children. And this nanny was one of them. And I really wanted to protect that relationship because when I was sick and going through recovery and all the ups and downs of that, she was a very important person in my life. And I just didn't want anything messing with that. And I should also note that at the time they were intimate, my sister's still married. Yeah. Separated, but no divorce papers had been filed. So yeah, I'm going to need to tell this in another part because I'm not trying to have you guys watch a 20-minute video. So I'll give you another version right now.
You guys, I used to have a friend who used to return all her meals every single time we went to a restaurant. And the first few times she did it, I didn't really think nothing of it until I picked up on what she was doing. And then it started to piss me off. One, she was always broke, like always broke. So a lot of the times, I always help my homegirls. I do not care if you have no money. If I want to go eat, I'm gonna pay for you. Anyways, it got to the point where I was paying for everything. So eventually I was just like, hey girl, like I can't pay for every single meal. Like it was starting to come to the point where like they were inviting me and then I was paying. So I had to cut that out. I had to nip that shit in the bud, right? So anyways, I was like, yeah, so I'm not going to be paying for the meals anymore or whatever. So if y'all invite me, okay? If I invite you, yes, of course. Anyways, so the first time it happened, she ordered her food, she got it, and she was like, it's not what I want. I didn't expect it to look like this. Sent it back. She kept doing it, and I was like, girl, like, what do you like? Or she'll take like a few bites of it, and then she'll be like, oh yeah, this is not how it is supposed to be cooked. And then she would send it back. And when I tell you, she did it every single time we went out. If I was not paying for that meal, she was sending it back. So this one time I was like, hey girl, like, why do you do that? Like, you always order and then you always say you don't like it as soon as it gets to the table. And she's like, yeah, because I think it's gonna look good and then it doesn't. And I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of embarrassing because you do it every time now. And we were going to restaurants, like my favorite restaurant was Black Rock at the time. We would go there multiple times and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're picking up on the fact that you always bring the food back. Like, why? I'm picking it up, so I know they're picking it up. Anyway, she makes up some type of excuse and then we just drop the subject. About a week goes by and they invite me out to eat again. And mind you, we're like a trio. All three of us go out. So me and the other friend who goes out with us, she actually texted me. She goes, hey, do you want to go out to eat with me and so-called? I said, yeah. But I was like, can I tell you something? She's like, yeah. I was like, she keeps returning the food and it's kind of like, I just don't like it. I was like, and it's not like she's returning the food in a nice way. She's being hella rude about it because she's trying to almost portray like it's their fault. So they take the food back. Like, so she does it rude as hell. Like she's like, it's not what I wanted. Y'all didn't do something right. So it's not even like she's just returning these meals. She's trying to gaslight them into thinking that they are doing something wrong. And it's embarrassing because she gets in full on arguments. Like the waitress will be like, but you said this. And she'll be like, no, I didn't. And she'll be like, yeah, you did. And it's just embarrassing. Like, and I was like, so if she's going to do that, I was like, I don't want to go. So you better talk to her and tell her, do not return no food. So y'all, we get to this restaurant, right? We get to the restaurant and we order our food. She orders her food. The food gets here and I can tell in her face she's about to return it. We go to this really nice restaurant and she orders a salad. She comes with the salad, but it's a nice steakhouse, so it's in a wedge and with the toppings on top. And she goes, I didn't ask for this. I asked for a lettuce and ranch. That's it. And she goes, no, you said the salad and this is what comes on the salad. She goes, well, I didn't mean that. I meant lettuce and ranch. So can you return this? Bro, I about damn near snapped. I looked at her and I wasn't even, I was like, if you're going to talk to her like that, I'm going to talk to you crazy. I look at her and I said, are you 5? I was like, are you a child? Who eats lettuce and ranch? And the waitress is sitting there like, I'm like, no, because you want to embarrass me again? I'm about to embarrass you. And I was like, why would you order lettuce and ranch? Or why wouldn't you ask this poor lady what it comes with if it was so, if she should have known just to get you lettuce and ranch? How was she supposed to know that? I'm like, don't do that again. So the waitress goes, gets you the food, puts it down, and she goes, she looks at it and goes, yeah, just take it back. This is not it. This is not the type of salad I want. Blah, blah, blah. So, you know what? The lady picks up, she looks at her, picks up the plate and walks away. Now we all look like some broke bitches, okay? We all look like some little childish ass little girls eating lettuce and ranch, okay? So as she gets up, I look at her. I said, you said you weren't going to do this. I look at my other friend. I said, you said she wasn't going to do this. She's being rude as fuck to the staff. She's sending back lettuce and ranch. I was like, we were in a nice ass steakhouse, so it was just Ruth Chris. But I was like, she cannot be doing this. She ordered food. I was like, anyways, I'm snapping on her and she goes, you know what? My steak, tell them I don't even want it. And she gets up and walks out. I'm about to explode. I look at my other friend and I said, do you realize she can't afford these meals? And that's why she's sending it back. She's ordering food to portray that she can afford these meals. And then when she realizes she can't, she sends it back after 3 bites. So it makes her look like she can afford it, but she just doesn't want it. And then she's yelling at these poor waitresses, making us, gaslighting them into thinking this is their fault, like they did something wrong. I was like, that's exactly what she's doing. And if you don't see that, my other friend's like, no, I get what you're saying. Like I see the pattern. She just doesn't want to say I can't afford the meal. So instead, she orders the meal, finds something wrong with it, and then sends it back. I said yes, and it's embarrassing. I said she's embarrassing me. She's rude to the staff. Like, I don't do this. I don't come out just to sit here and fake order food. Like, what the fuck? Anyways, you guys, I never went out to eat with her again. We kind of fell out after that. We just slowly stopped hanging out. I told my other friend, my other friend was always frustrated with her, but she just did not want, I don't know, to tell her, to break the news to her. And I just can't do that. I can't be around somebody that I don't like, who do actions that I don't like, and just sit there and accept it. And that's what my other friend did. She would just accept it and be frustrated. She was just as mad as me all the time, but never wanted to say anything. So I just ended up, I was like, you know what, I kind of outgrew y'all, and it's just, I don't like this, you know. But yeah, that's the story. This is not the finished product. I'm just done with the story, just so you know. Don't be like, oh, your makeup looks ugly. It's not done.